everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. I'm Kelly, and today I'm going to be just sharing my personal general beliefs around meditation, how I do it a little bit differently than other meditation teachers, and then I'm also going to share my personal kind of mindful in minutes formula for how I create so many meditations, why I do it this way. And then I'm also going to share kind of why I made the choice to close my meditation teacher training for a little bit. And then I will share at the end, if you do want to join before it closes, how you can do that and also how you can apply for a scholarship. It just kind of occurred to me the other day that I've never really talked about my meditation philosophy or how I do things differently. And sometimes I joke, and it's not really a joke, it's for real, and I'm really happy about this, but sometimes I joke that I am people's meditation gateway drug. And what I mean by that is I know a lot of people come to this podcast and they are using it when they're just starting to meditate, or maybe they've tried a few times before and it just didn't work for them. And I just get so much happiness and fulfillment when people say you helped me build a meditation practice, or your meditations felt approachable or digestible, or they had to do with real everyday life stuff. They were short, they were simple. And that makes me so happy because one of my life missions is to kind of demystify meditation and show that it's not that serious and it's not that hard. And I just wanted to share one, how I came to that conclusion, and also how I kind of formulate, I think I'll probably call this the mindful minutes method, which sounds sort of serious, but it's really not. It's really not. It's just how I do it and why I do it differently than a lot of other meditation teachers. So what I'm thinking for today, my little outline, is I'm thinking I will start briefly with my meditation origin story. I've shared it before in depth on this podcast a few years ago, so I'm just going to kind of share the bits that are relevant to what I'm going to be talking about. And then I want to share my personal meditation beliefs. I want to share what I do differently for meditation, the Mindful Minutes kind of guided meditation method and why I do it that way. And then I want to share why I'm closing meditation teacher training for a while. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So before we dive in, let's do our quick little check-in. How are we doing? How are you doing? I'm personally, not that you asked, I'm personally doing pretty well. We're doing pretty well over here. You guys know that one of my highlights in the week is just getting to sit in this little booth. It's not even a booth, this closet, sit in this tiny little closet, crisscross on the floor, and just create this podcast. And it just brings me so much joy, so much life, so much fulfillment. So I am doing pretty well. We are having a good day, and the household pork chop has been having a little bit of a struggle. I'm not quite sure why. We're still figuring out why. I think part of it is that I think he's still adjusting to becoming a big brother. We've had just some small changes, and also he's 3. Pork Chop's getting ready to start preschool. You guys, if you've been with me for a while, you remember the days of when we were all locked in 2020 at home, and I was shared that I was pregnant. We talked about Pork Chop for the first time. All that. He is getting ready to start preschool in the fall. And I have to say, there is nothing cooler to me than when, even though it's bittersweet, I look at Poppy and she's already getting so big and so old already. It goes so much faster, I think, with your second. But to be able to have conversations with Pork Chop to me is the coolest thing. He's talking and we just get to chat about that. I don't know. It's just something that has been so surprisingly amazing and pleasant. But anyways, we're having a good day around here. Pork Chop has been struggling to, not get mad at his little. Okay, I need to wrap this up. It was really a tangent, but basically things have been a little tumultuous the last few weeks. Poppy is crawling around. She's moving, which means she moves over to Pork Chop's toys, and then he gets mad. Sometimes he tries to throw a toy at his sister. Just typical like sibling stuff. It happens. But you know what? There is so far sibling harmony in the house today. I am making this podcast. I'm feeling great. But how are you feeling? Check in with yourself. I hope that you are doing well. All right. I'm wrapping that up. Thank you for listening to me and my, few minutes of sharing there. We're just going to dive in. Let's talk about the meditation origin story. So again, I know some of you have heard this before, but to me, it's so important for me to share how I got to where I'm at in meditation, because it really is why I do things differently. So I started in the yoga space. When I was a teenager, I was always doing yoga as this form of like cross-training for sports. I was a sporty gal. I was an active kid. And I was there 100% for like the stretch. I would skip out on Shavasana. I certainly wasn't doing meditation. I wasn't there for any of like the woo-woo stuff that maybe a yoga teacher would sprinkle in here and there. And for some context, this would have been, I think I started yoga when I was like, my mom had to like drive me to class at like gym at like Lifetime and like drop me off. So I would have been probably 14 or 15. So this would have been early 2000s. And so like kids weren't really doing this, but I was there for the stretch, for, the cross training. And I remember the first time that like I ever even learned what yoga was. I was really young and I came across this book my mom had on the bookshelf. It just had all these different like yoga poses. And it was like that classic like 90s. She was in kind of like I don't know, like a little bodysuit, just doing these like very bendy, like very big expressions of yoga poses. And then there's also like a little DVD of yoga and a meditation practice that I saw my mom doing once. No, it wasn't even a DVD, you guys. It was like a VHS. Anyways, this is really dating myself. And I like one time saw my mom like doing it and I was just like so intrigued. And I would look at, this yoga book and be like, what is this wild thing? And then when I was 16 and my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, which you all know was a big turning point in my life, and something that I've been thinking about, and you can let me know what you think about this. I'm thinking about doing some interviews on Mindful Minutes, but only like my friends. I made a list today and there's like 6 people on that list. Should we have Mama Smith on the podcast? I kind of want to, I don't know if she would do it. I really don't know if she would do it, but I'll float the idea past her when I see her this week and see what she thinks. But I've been thinking about doing some interviews. Like I have just these really special, beautiful friends. Like I have Gina, who is a past life regression specialist. I have Ashley, who is like, that's like astrology queen. There's so many people that I know that are doing really cool things that I kind of thought maybe I could have them on. And like the woman who taught me how to do sound baths, maybe she could do like a sound meditation 101. I don't know. It's an idea that is sitting in there, but I'm thinking about asking my mom to be on the podcast. But anyways, when I was 16 and I was her primary caregiver, this was when I really started to dabble in like the non-physical aspects of yoga. I didn't know it at the time, but some of the things that I was doing to care for myself, because it was extremely hard. I thought my mom was going to die. I thought I was going to lose my mom and be this like teenager and not have my mom there. I was worried that like, I think it's hard for me to like say that and not get emotional, because I think about now, 2 big things come up. Like one, I think about, going back to my younger self and just like wrapping her up in this hug and being like, it is all going to be okay. Like this is such a hard moment in your life and a defining moment in your life, but like it's temporary. I promise you're going to get through this. Like, I wish I could go back and just like hug my little 16-year-old self. But also I think about like what a beautiful presence my mom is in my life and now in like my children's life. And just like, I don't know, I was just so scared that I would never get to have that moment. Like she wouldn't get to like meet her grandkids. Anyways, I'm going to take a deep breath. But like in this moment, I didn't know it at the time, but a lot of the things that I was doing for my own care, and also I saw my mom, like obviously like engaging in like prayer, but also like visualization, like her doctors recommended, that she do like relaxation techniques, things that we know help to boost the immune system, help us to recover. it wasn't even called meditation. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. But now in hindsight, I know that's what it was. And it was so helpful for me. It was helpful for my mom. And, after her surgeries and things like that, we dabbled in like some restorative yoga instead of doing like a really fiery vinyasa practice. Like my eyes were just open to how something like yoga and meditation and mindfulness can help support your mental and emotional well-being. And it's not just something that gives you, quote, like a good stretch. And then after this, once we leave the I was really scared my mom was going to die era, then we enter the era of loneliness. And the era of loneliness, that to me is very much like finishing high school. I didn't feel like I could really relate to my peers that much because I was still kind of going through this thing like with my mom. And a lot of high school stuff just felt kind of like trivial at the moment because I had this big life thing that I was dealing with. And then when I went to college, I was so lonely. But it wasn't even just like I didn't really have a lot of friends because I didn't. Like I was lonely for other people, but I was mostly lonely like for myself. Like I didn't really know myself. I didn't feel connected to who I was. And this was really like that I think was the deepest loneliness. It was like I was truly like lonely for myself and I didn't know who I was, which I think is common. I think, that's not necessarily something that's unique to me. Like we all have to take this journey of like finding ourselves and turning inward. And a lot of us are currently on that journey. And maybe we have different life things. Like I had to kind of refine myself after motherhood. Like, what is this iteration of me like? Like, who am I now? Who is she? And I really felt that like during college and things, even though I didn't have like a lot of friends and I wouldn't necessarily say that was like the best part of my life, I still had yoga and meditation. And there's a small local studio there that I would go to, and it just really helped me kind of find stillness and connect to myself. And it gave me just like this fun, special thing that I did. I did it alone, but it really just time and time again, like mindfulness and meditation, yoga, it was there for me when I needed something. It was like that lifeboat for me when I felt like I was drowning. And so when I graduated college, that yoga studio was doing a summer yoga teacher training, and I was so intrigued, and I really wanted to do it. And as you know, I had a hard time wanting to do that because I didn't have a lot of support. Again, like a few things weren't really popular. So this would have been, This would have been 2011, 2012. I think I graduated college in 2012. Yeah, that sounds right. Like people weren't just pursuing their dream as a job. They weren't just being like, I want to go be a yoga teacher. I want to find myself. I want to do these things. I didn't really have a lot of support except for, of course, Mama Smith. But I didn't really have a lot of support. People were like, that's a waste of your college degree. That's a waste of, people just were acting like this dream of mine was beneath me. And that was so hard for me to reconcile within myself, of feeling pulled to pursue something that just felt so right and so fulfilling and uplifting to like my spirit. And then have people around me be like, why don't you go get an MBA? Why don't you get a real job? Why would you go to college just to go teach yoga? Things like that. It was so hard for me to reconcile these things. And I remember being so scared when I told my mom. We were like driving in the car coming back from like a doctor's appointment. And I remember being nervous and I was like, Mom, I don't know what I want to do after college, but I think I want to teach yoga. I think I want to do a yoga teacher training. And I was so scared to tell her because I was worried that maybe she would judge me or that she would say the same things that everyone else was saying. And she was so supportive and so loving and was like, if you feel like that is what your heart needs to do, then you should do it. And she's always been my biggest cheerleader in all of this. And it was in that moment that I realized you only need one person in your corner. And it can feel like you have like a million people in your corner. Like if you have one person that says, I believe in you, that is like the best feeling. So if anyone needs that person, I'm happy to be that person. I do believe in you. Anyone sitting there and you have a dream in your heart, I do believe in you. And like you just need that one person that knows you can do it. And it just feels like amazing, so amazing. And so I don't know, I felt like 50 pounds had been lifted off of my shoulders. And my mom was like, if that's what you feel like you want to do, like do it. Go do that yoga teacher training. And the thing is my mom had to help me pay for my tuition. I could not afford it. I was like nannying. I was, kind of working this like after school daycare. But yoga teacher trainings are expensive. I want to say tuition was like $3,000 to $4,000, and my mom helped me pay for it, which is why I've always wanted to do scholarships for my programs when I could. And I haven't really like financially been able to offer that. But if you listen to the first episode of this month, this community mini, all the ad revenue is being set aside for scholarships. So I've decided to set aside two $300 scholarships for meditation teacher training. And this is very much inspired by like I could not financially afford my first training. And if I wouldn't basically have gotten the mom scholarship to help, I maybe never would have started this path that changed my life and now let me do this. So I do have these two $300 scholarships for meditation teacher training up for grabs before I close it. Applications close on May 30th of 2024. I will put the link in the show notes. So if you are someone who wants to do meditation teacher training, but you're not financially able to fill out an application, and yes, it's closing May 30th. I cannot make any exceptions on that. So if you're listening in the future and you're like, I missed it, I'm sorry, maybe, this will come around again. But I'll put the link in the show notes. But anyways, I got the mom scholarship. And even though I did a yoga teacher training and I loved it, it was truly just like life-changing, so great. I still wanted to check all the boxes. I started working in management. I moved in with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. Like I did the things that I felt like I needed to do and like just, check those boxes, do the things in the quote, like right order. But then when my husband got into medical school in rural Missouri, I decided that I was going to move with him and that I was going to leave everything and, we were going to go there and we'd gotten engaged and, all of this stuff. And I said, all right, let's do it. And when I first saw this town, good old Kirksville, Missouri, if anyone is still listening from Kirksville, Missouri, hello, you are like the originals of Yoga for You before Mindful Minutes even existed. I cried when I saw this town. I had never quite seen anything like it. It was very small. It was very different than what I was used to. And I remember we were driving through town, like the main road. I joke it's a 1-bar, 1 Walmart town. It was like a 3-bar, 1 Walmart town. And we're driving through the main road and I was like crying and my husband was driving and I was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do here, Ben, for work. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like who here is, I was working in management, who here is hiring managers and all this stuff. I'm like crying. And we both look, there's this Long John Silver's, which if anyone is not familiar, I don't even know if they exist anymore. It's like fish and chips, fast food kind of. I don't know. I've never actually eaten that one. And on their little like marquee, it just says hiring managers now. And my husband and I make eye contact and I just burst out crying. And I was like, I'm going to move here and there's nothing for me to do. The only job I'm going to be able to get is to be a manager at Long John Silver's, which if anyone is a fast food manager, you know what? That was so judgmental of me. But there is nothing wrong with that at all. But I saw that Long John Silver and that sign that they were hiring managers and all I saw was just doom. I was like, what am I going to do? And we were there trying to like find an apartment and it was really hard and like scary. And anyone who's moved like for family or for their partner or anything, that it's really hard to be the one that gets moved and not the one that's like moving for their thing because you basically are just letting everything go and not like moving to start something new. Like you don't really have anything waiting for you. You're just starting all over. So I cried when I saw the Long John Silver's marquee and we ended up finding an apartment. I went back home. Like I sat with it for several months before I actually ended up moving down there. And once I did move down there and we had Mila, the queen, that was my, ultimatum. I was like, but I need a puppy. I need a friend. And I didn't really see my husband. He was in school. I didn't know anyone. I had to leave my job. I didn't have anything. And I was really sitting with what am I going to do with my life, like sitting, meditating. And I just felt, I don't know. I just felt this pull and I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. Screw what everyone has been saying. I'm unemployed. I have no friends. I have nothing to do. I'm going to pursue my dream. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm going to try to be a yoga teacher. I'm going to try to do this. And it was in that moment that like all of this was born. And like something so special and powerful happened in that moment. It was like so freeing to just be like, you know what? Forget the list, forget the, society's timeline, whatever it is. I'm just going to pursue something that I feel called to do. And so I did. And I just started with like this one little yoga class on Friday nights. I started growing it over time, and it was growing and growing. And then during this time was when I really started to explore meditation. I felt like, although I loved my 200-hour teacher training, they did do some work on meditation. And you know what? This is a real confession. I didn't really pay that close of attention. When I did my 200-hour teacher training, I was still kind of in this mindset of like yoga is mostly the physical. And we did have a teacher that, taught us some different meditation techniques and explained it was one of the limbs of yoga, all of that. But I don't know, it didn't stick with me that time. And so then like a few years later, I'm, building this, and I genuinely feel like I can't teach something that I don't personally know or do. And I started feeling called to meditation, and I had my students asking about it. Like I was curious about it. And I was like, okay, like I need to learn about meditation. So I started learning. I started reading books. I started like just diving into everything. There were some like YouTube videos. I started becoming this like meditation sponge. And I was, looking at all different types of teachers and styles. Like I dabbled in everything. Nothing was off limits. And I started to meditate myself, and I started like feeling really good. And I finally started feeling like that I could be alone, but not lonely. And I was just so interested in everything. I was, dabbling in, guided meditations, TWIM. This is when I went and found the monks online and went and stayed with them for a while, like studied there. Present moment meditation, walking meditation. This is when I started doing like energy healing. I learned about like chakras and chakra meditation, candle gazing, body scans. I was reading books on like meditation to awaken psychic gifts, like, chanting, tantra, which I think sometimes people think like tantra meditation is like, sexy time meditation. It's like not really. It can be, but it's not. Like Kundalini, nothing was off limits. And I just wanted to become this like little meditation sponge. It was so fascinating to me. And I loved practicing and making note of like what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what resonated with me, what did I like what techniques I felt were like really powerful. And I just paid attention to how all these different styles and techniques made me feel. And then I started pulling little bits out and like weaving those elements into my yoga classes, into my personal practice, and into, the limited meditation that I was sharing with others. And this took a long time. For like years I did this. I would say I like really, really went headfirst into meditation for at least like a year and a half. And then I ended up doing another yoga teacher training that had more meditation in it. And so then I learned more like that way, but I was still reading books. But at least for like a few years, I was really just like all in on this, which, spoiler alert, is eventually then what would inspire me to make my meditation teacher training. It was basically I wanted to build something where people could learn a strong foundation in like hours instead of years, because this is what I needed when I was learning and wanting to share meditation with others, but it just didn't really exist. Like I could only find trainings where they'd focus on like one style. It was like you'd get like your PhD in like this one really specific style. I didn't want that. I didn't want a PhD in like this one specific style. I wanted like bachelor's degrees in like all the styles, and then be able to then apply what I learned in those like to my everyday life, which is what really led me to not only meditation teacher training and like my personal style of meditation, but what I would consider kind of like the mindful in minutes method. This episode is brought to you by Prose. Now, have you ever been skeptical about custom beauty? Because I certainly have. I feel like my feed, especially after I had baby Poppy, was just flooded with like, customize this, personalize that, and they all promised to fix my very sad postpartum hair, which is a real thing. Anyone who's had a baby, ever since I had baby Poppy, my scalp has been so dry and my hair has been kind of thin and limp. Like, it happens, but thankfully I found pros, because when they say custom, they actually mean it. It is not a gimmick. Like, every single bottle of Pros custom hair care, and they make skincare, is made to order, and it's personalized with a unique blend of just naturally powerful and proven effective ingredients that are going to meet only your needs. And they do this by doing this in-depth consultation. They analyze over 80 factors for a complete view of your life and beauty goals. And they get so personal. They ask about like concerns to diet, exercise, stress levels. They even asked me what my zip code was so that they could understand my water hardiness and UV index, which is like amazing. And then they recommended this full routine, like this pre-scalp mask, which feels amazing. And everything was made after I placed my order. So nothing is pre-mixed, nothing off the shelves, none of that. And ever since I've switched to Pros, not only have I noticed my scalp feels so much better, but my hair is getting fuller. And like, someone complimented me on how full my hair looked the other day. And I was like, oh, thank you. It's Pros. But don't just take my word for it. In a third-party, double-blind, dermatologist-supervised, controlled clinical study, aka the gold standard in research studies, Pros prove that personalization works better than off-the-shelf alternatives. And Pros is so confident that you'll love your results that they're offering my listeners an exclusive trial so you can see the difference custom care can make. 50% off your first subscription order at pros.com/mindful. That's PROSE.com/mindful for your free consultation and 50% off your one-of-a-kind formula. Pros.com/mindful. Okay, so let's switch gears now to what I believe when it comes to meditation, and maybe how I differ a little bit from other meditation teachers. And I do not want to ruffle any feathers here. I truly believe that there is space for everyone. Like, there's a student for every teacher and a teacher for every student, but not every teacher or every philosophy is going to work for every student or resonate with them, and vice versa. And that's what makes it so special and beautiful. Like, I know some people are probably thinking in a moment when I share, like, my formula for how I make these meditations, they're gonna be like, Kelly, why are you sharing the secret recipe? And it's like, I have no problem doing that, because not only is there room for everyone benefits from meditation and like helping people facilitate this journey to the self. Everyone benefits from that, but also everyone has their own unique voice to bring to this space. And so anyone could take this formula and apply it, but they're going to have to apply it in their voice, and it's going to make it unique to them, and it will be a different experience. So this is what I personally believe when it comes to meditation. So first, I do not think that there is a one-size-fits-all approach to meditation. Having dabbled in all of these different styles, played around with different techniques, done meditation retreats, intensive trainings, studied with monks, read books, watch YouTube videos, like the full gambit and spectrum of like really useful content out there to like maybe not so useful content out there. All styles have pros and cons, and they're going to work well with some people and they're not going to work well with other people. And it's all about finding, my belief is finding like your personal sweet spot. I feel the same way about like health and wellness in general, and like even like with how you eat, like everyone's internal chemistry is going to be different, so maybe different foods will agree with their bodies differently. And I don't think there's like one like this is the way. Also, if anyone is telling you that their way is like the capital T, the way, be suspicious. Be suspicious of that, because the only person that can tell you what the capital T way is for you is you. Now, you can try what they're doing. You can see if, their way is also a great way for you. But like if someone's like, no, this is like the thing that will work for everyone, I'm a little suspicious of that, because I feel really strongly that meditation is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and that what works for one person may not work for another person. And I really felt this when I was studying meditation. I was like, I don't want to say, okay, I'm going to be a Vipassana meditation practitioner, and that's all I'm going to do is Vipassana. And Vipassana is great. Or, I'm not just going to do, whatever. I'll insert whatever meditation style in there. I think that they're all different beautiful tools and techniques that you can put in your toolbox and use them for everyday realistic situations. and you can use them and apply them to like what you're experiencing in life, like taking these small little elements of different styles and just collecting tools in your toolbox that then you can pull out whenever you need them. For me, that's like the magic of meditation, and like using different styles, using different philosophies, different elements, and then knowing how to kind of utilize them to either serve your own personal practice, or if you're teaching, to serve your students, right? So for example, let's say a student comes to me, or I'm making a, podcast episode, meditation on sadness. I'm going to take maybe the activating of the heart center from loving kindness meditation, right? That kind of activating the heart center, welcoming in those feelings of like warmth and kindness, compassion. I'm going to take that element from loving kindness meditation. I'm going to mix it with some emotional awareness, which is kind of traditional in mindfulness meditation, like present moment meditation, kind of that sitting and just checking in, like, how am I? I'm going to take elements from that. Then I'm going to add in some mantras, which you use in like transcendental meditation. And then maybe I'm going to do a heart chakra visualization that I learned when I was, really dabbling in the chakra system. And then boom, you have this like recipe for a meditation for sadness, taking 1, 2, 3, 4 different elements from 4 different styles of meditation, and then using it to apply to your everyday life and the experience that like you're having. Because I think especially as we're practicing meditation, it can be this amazing vehicle to go like really deep and to like unlock these new things, these like new elements of your life. But it also can be this really great daily self-care practice that takes a few minutes, that just is this tiny little micro habit that makes a huge impact on your life. And I've done both. Right now I'm kind of in like meditation maintenance, which is just kind of every day committing to 10 to 15 minutes. But I've also, done retreats. I've, taken vows of silence. I have spent, hours on hours on hours meditating. And there's, a place for both. But like, I feel like for so many of us, and this is really what I feel like embodies kind of the mindful in minutes philosophy or method, if you will, is that it's taking these different elements and using them in a way that benefits your real life and your real life things, just to help you get closer to yourself. Also, I believe that science tells us size does not matter when it comes to meditation. Short meditations are both realistic and effective, and I think they are something that like we are just more likely to stick with. It is hard to fit. Meditation is my life. It is my personal passion, and it is also my career. And I still am meditating for maybe anywhere from 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes a day. And it is still extremely effective. I think short meditations are so realistic for so many of us. And what is the best type of meditation, in my opinion? The one that you enjoy and you're going to stick with and fits into your life and doesn't feel like it's this thing that you have to do, or this new thing that, it doesn't feel like a chore. It's just this nice little micro habit that creates a big value add to your life. And I think that like short meditate, like size does not matter. Also, if you want to meditate for 30, 45, 60 minutes a day, that is amazing too. I personally am sticking to short meditations right now because I feel like I can fill my cup in that time and get what I need and be realistic about my meditation habit in this particular very kind of busy, chaotic season of life. I also think that the magic in meditation, it happens when I call it where science and spirit meet. So a lot of this is like with meditation, it's like, what do I feel? And what do I believe? What does my intuition say? But also, what does the science say? And I love that sweet spot of like intersection between like spirit and science. To me, that really embodies like mindful in minutes, where we can have some fun and do some of the woo-woo and do like an aura cleansing meditation because, we can feel that we have this like energy bubble that sometimes can get a little gunked up, right? But then also, what does the science say of like, how does meditation rewire our brain to like have smaller physiological responses to anxiety triggers? Like really where science and spirit intersect, like that's where I love like mindful in minutes to be. Mindful in minute, I believe that meditation is a non-religious practice. Yes, it comes from religious origins and cultures that are more deeply rooted in like a specific religion, but the practice of meditation itself is single-pointed concentration. So taking all of your mental power and focusing it on one thing. If your mind was a light bulb, Meditation is taking that light bulb and turning it into a laser pointer and focusing it on one thing. That to me is not a religious practice. You absolutely can weave your personal beliefs and you could make it a part of your devotional practice or your spiritual practice or whatever. It absolutely can be that. I firmly believe that the actual practice of meditation is like training your brain, and that is not against like any religion. This typically comes up when I speak to my Christian clients that are concerned that meditation is going to be against their religion. I firmly believe, and I, grew up in the Christian faith. I do not think that meditation is a religious practice, in my opinion. The actual act, single pointed concentration, that's not religious. However, you could make your personal meditation practice be as spiritually driven or rooted as you wanted. So that could be, on a scale of 0 to 100, it could be a 0, 100, anywhere in between. It's up to you. I find a lot of peace in my own kind of personal spiritual practice and journey through my meditation, because I feel like when I quiet my mind and I turn inward, that's where I can kind of connect, not only within, but then connect with anything else that I need to. That's just me personally. I think that mindful in minutes and my kind of philosophy to meditation is take what you need and just leave what you don't. Show up as you are. Meditation is non-judgmental. It is a tool that you can use at any point in your life for anything that you need. Just take what you need and leave what you don't need. I think the best type of meditation is the kind that you're going to enjoy and that you're most likely to stick with, and the one that resonates with you. And that means that when I teach, I'm taking elements from so many different styles and I'm utilizing them in different ways to help set my students up for their customized success based on their real life. So what that looks like is, for mindful in minutes, every meditation has usually like a topic. So maybe I'm helping to set up, back to that sadness meditation example, I'm helping to set up any of my students that are coming to do this meditation on sadness. I want to set them up for like sadness success. If someone works with me individually, or maybe we are on retreat and they're like, oh, I want to work on meditation for this. Like every bit of advice or teaching that I give to a student is going to be innately customized and personalized based on the knowledge that I have of like all these different styles and techniques. Because I think that, again, we're just putting tools in our toolbox, but then like you're the builder. So you get to decide, I want to use this tool and this tool and this tool to craft this thing. And that's what I feel like my job is as a teacher. It's not only help you gather the tools, but just kind of teach you like this tool works well for this. So then when you need to use it in your everyday life, you can. So it's always a very kind of customized, personalized experience when it comes to meditation. It's not just like, oh, I teach this kind of meditation, so if you work with me, I will teach you this kind of meditation. It's going to be a little bit different, which kind of leads me into the, I guess, mindful in minutes guided meditation formula. And again, I have no qualms of sharing this publicly at all. There is a student for every teacher and a teacher for every student. And this comes up in meditation teacher training. And people are like, I really want to teach meditation, but I don't just want to sound like my teacher. Like I don't just want to sound like you, Kelly. I want to find my own voice. And that's why there's a whole section of meditation teacher training on like finding your voice. Because the thing that's so important about teaching meditation, and all of you know this, right, is that you find a teacher where you just like their style. You could go online right now and you could find thousands of, let's say, loving kindness meditation practices. And I bet like pretty much all of them are really great. But like the teacher's voice makes a difference. You need to find a voice that resonates with you. The way they, maybe the length of the meditations they create, maybe they weave in different elements, or maybe they're kind of more like purists when it comes to loving kindness meditation. They're all doing it a little bit differently. And it's just about finding the teacher that resonates with you. So I think that's so important as like a meditation practitioner, is that you find someone where their style resonates with you. But also as a teacher, I think it's so important that one, you realize that it's nothing personal, but that you find your own personal voice and share what you feel like you need to share, and the students will come. And that you can take these formulas or whatever it is and do it your way. And there's truly room for everyone because we're all doing it with our own voice. So for mindful in minutes, like meditations, it's always going to have a topic. So I'm going to pick a topic ahead of time. Rarely do I do any kind of an open-ended or like not really guided or like a do nothing sort of meditation. That's just like not my style. It's going to have a topic because, again, I really believe like meditation is something that you can use to apply to like your everyday life stuff: stress, anxiety, sadness, connection, meeting the true self, balancing your chakras, anything. So I've already picked the topic. The first thing usually that we're going to do, of course, there's some deviations. I've been doing this for 6.5 years. So, sometimes I mix it up a little bit, but usually we're going to do something to come into the moment and the body. I think of it as like you're out, you're living your life. I do the same thing in my yoga classes too. Your mind, your body, your heart might still be, outside of the yoga mat or outside of your body or somewhere else with, some stressful interaction you just had, or still thinking about what you just had for breakfast. I don't know. But I think of it as like, you can't see me right now because obviously this is a podcast, but like you're out here, you're like outside of your body. So the first thing that I'll do is just bring you into the moment and into your body. Just like get into here, get into your physical being. Then we almost always do a breath something, even if it's a simple few deep breaths, because I do this to calm the nervous system, because it is pretty much impossible to go deeper in meditation if you're in fight or flight. So we almost always do some kind of a breath thing to quiet the nervous system so we can get more out of the meditation. Then we'll do some kind of a technique. This part is really broad. It's like, it could be anything. You guys know, you listen to these meditations. Like it can be anything. It could be mantra. Maybe it's a more specific breath technique. Maybe it's a activation of, the heart. Maybe it's some loving kindness techniques. Maybe it's something from like, Zen meditation. I'll just take some kind of like a technique that I think works well for the topic. And then we'll usually end with some kind of imagery. Now, it doesn't always have to be like a visualization, right? But it's something that maybe you will think about, imagine. It'll be kind of an imagination piece. And then I'll leave you there for a certain amount of time, a few moments to really connect and go deeper. And then we're done. And that's it. That's pretty much what I do for every time. And it's going to be completely different. Even if that's the framework, each practice is going to be different because I'm pulling in different techniques, different breaths, different ways to calm the nervous system, different imagery. I think kind of the mindful minutes method is just very much like we're just here to dabble and to meditate and to feel better and to just create this little micro habit that makes a big impact in our day and just show up as we are. So that's kind of like the mindful minutes method. So if you're listening to this and you want to take that framework, go for it. It's going to be different because it's going to be in your voice. And I think like when people do meditation teacher training, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, yes, I teach you like so many different techniques and tools and things like that, but a big part of it is kind of like, how do you find your voice? Because that's really the important part here. So why did I create meditation teacher training? And why did I spend so much time talking about things that weren't meditation teacher training to lead up to it? Basically, it's because after I started Mindful in Minutes and I was kind of known for using meditation and imagery in my yoga classes, people started asking me to teach them how to teach meditation. And so much imposter syndrome came up. When people started asking me this, I was like, me? I cannot teach you how to teach meditation. I feel like I am sometimes just flying by the seat of my pants and I'm still figuring it out. And I very much had this imposter syndrome of like, well, if I don't know everything, like how can I be a teacher? And I had to sit with it. And through my own meditation, I realized that it's not about knowing everything before you become a teacher. It's about knowing enough information that what you have mastered, whatever portion that is, that you feel like you can then share it with others and kind of like expedite their process. Do you know what I mean? It would be like the image that I have in my head is like a glass of water. And if someone is like thirsty, for example, like the knowledge that I have, if that is kind of filling up my meditation glass of water, maybe there's someone who like just wants a sip. And I have, this halfway full cup. I'm like, oh, well, I can certainly help you with that. Like, I don't need to have it all the way filled up to then be able to give anyone just like a sip. I don't know. Maybe that makes no sense, but that's kind of what I think about. Like the image that comes in my mind is that a teacher is someone who is still walking the path and still learning and still gathering tools for their toolbox, but also has these tools that they've kind of mastered that then the people that are further back on the journey, you can kind of look back and help them along based on what you've already learned. So I had to really sit and work through my imposter syndrome. And I was like, you know what? I want to create the thing that I wish I would have had when I wanted to be a meditation teacher, when I wanted to share this. I want to create the thing, like I could feel that there was this hunger, and it's much more popular now. But at the time, when did I first release meditation teacher training? I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago. And it was before I think I was even pregnant with pork chop. So probably 5 years ago. And there was like this hunger. People wanted to know like how to write guided meditations, like I was doing on Mindful in Minutes. Like, how do they share meditation with their patients, their clients, their teenagers, like massage therapists being like, how do I incorporate this? Yoga teachers, how do I incorporate meditation? School teachers, well, how do I incorporate meditation into this? And they didn't want to go live with monks. They didn't want to go to Bali for 7 weeks to study. They didn't want to spend years reading and digging through all of this information just to pull out the relevant bits. They just wanted to know, how can I start sharing this special thing with people, like in a way that's simple and easy to digest and in a professional way? Just regular people who want to know, how do I share the magic of meditation with others? What is the foundation? Where does it come from? How do I do it? And like, this is what I wish there would have been, something that would have taught me the foundations. And someone has said, okay, Kelly, here's the foundation of meditation. Here's the history of it. Here's what's happening neurologically and physiologically when we meditate. Here's the different positions you can meditate in. Here's all these different styles. Here's all these different techniques. Here's how you use them. Here's what students tend to resonate with them. Here's how you can put them together to create a really special thing. This is like, I needed the crash course. Like, here's how you write guided meditations. This is a mantra. This is how you can use it. Here's how you actually teach meditation. Like, how do you put together a workshop, an event, all of these things that like took me years to figure out. I was like, I want to create the thing that I wish I would have had. And that's what I did when I put together the 30-hour meditation teacher training like 5-ish years ago. And since then, about a year and a half ago, I added 10 more hours. So it's now a 40-hour teacher training. I added a whole module on like advanced techniques, a lot more on like teaching on the back end, like the business part of it, like the teaching potential, like even the earning potential. If you've been following me along on like Instagram, that's something that I've been talking a little bit more about, that I've been feeling a little uncomfy with, just because we don't talk a lot about like money and meditation and things like that. And I basically have more tools in there for people to be able to quickly make up their investment in meditation teacher training, because I get it. It is $479. That is not monopoly money. I totally get it. That is why, one, have scholarships. And two, that's why I added more content on like, here's how you can make up this investment quickly. Because like realistically, to make up like $400 teaching meditation, what that looks like is maybe you create like a meditation ebook, or let's say you do meditation like scripts that you write and you sell them for $10, and you just have to sell 40 of them. And then there you go. There's like $400. Like a lot of ideas of like, how do you quickly and efficiently make up this investment back? Like, because it is an investment from someone who has spent a lot of time and money investing in learning these things. It's a real thing. It's a real investment. So I added more of that. Just like I said, lots of like advanced techniques, more breath techniques. Like I just, the more that I do this and the more that I learn, I want to put more into that training. So that's basically why I created meditation teacher training. And then to kind of wrap it up, if you're like, okay, well, if it's so great and you love it so much, why are you closing it? I am not closing it for forever. But basically, I've had open enrollment all year. And this course is done at your own pace. You can do as much or as little as you. I have people who have signed up like 2 years ago and they're just slowly working through it. I have had people that have completed this in like one intensive week. It's totally done at your own pace. But at the end, you have to submit a final project, and I review that final project and I give feedback on it and I take my time with it. I also do monthly office hours where anyone who is in the training or is an alum can show up. They can ask questions. They can send questions ahead of time. It's very much just like office hours. And going into the summer, I want to focus on the students that I have in the course, because I also want to focus on my family this summer. This is the first summer being a mom of 2, also pork chops, getting ready for preschool. Like these summers I know are like so fleeting. And so I just decided that I'm going to close enrollment on June 1st, so you have through May 31st to join. And that's also why I'm doing scholarships and everything now. And then I'm just going to close it for this summer because this summer I'm focusing on my family and I am focusing on creating a virtual version of Yoga Nidra teacher training, which I'm really excited about. I've really been wanting to do that. But as I do that, it takes a lot of time to put that all together. And also, I'm really diving into even more Yoga Nidra right now, continue to expand and learn so I can just make like the most so I can just do the absolute best I can also with the Yoga Nidra teacher training. And I want to give that, my full attention. So I'm going out with a bang. And if you do want to join meditation teacher training, again, I can't extend this if you're listening in the future. Maybe it's open again, maybe not. I'll open it again, I think fall or winter. I'm not quite sure. It'll be one of them. I'm kind of thinking maybe winter, but we'll see. I do have some bonuses if you want to join. So again, you can click the link. You can apply for one of 2 scholarships, which is definitely an option. But anyone who joins before June 1st, so through meditation through May 31st, which is also Mama Smith's birthday. So happy birthday, Mama Smith. I have a PDF of 50 meditation topics. So if you teach like one meditation class a week for a year, that'll have you covered. Access to the replay of the Double Your Students Masterclass. So anyone who teaches meditation, yoga, Pilates, any kind of like a studio setting type class. I did this masterclass couple weeks ago on how you can double your students and enrollment in that. I'll give you a bonus module, 5 extra hours on leveling up your teaching. So it gives you like the 4 elements of an abundant business. I teach you how to do virtual retreats, successful ways to weave meditation into yoga classes. There's 5 extra hours of bonus content in that module. And also access to a masterclass I'm going to be doing live tomorrow-ish, but it's like totally full, on how you can make up your investment in a few hours. So I'm calling it how to make $400 an hour teaching meditation. And yeah. And if you're just here to learn and you're like, I want to learn about all this stuff, but I don't want to teach meditation, that's totally fine. Just learn all the things. I would say the first 7 of 10 modules is all just learning about meditation, the history, the foundations, the techniques, guided practices, all of these things. And then you don't ever have to touch the teaching modules or submit a final project to get your certificate if you don't want to. Definitely you could go and get the absolute crash course in meditation if you wanted to do that this summer. That'd be really fun. And then you unlock access to those monthly office hours, like I said, and then a lot of bonus trainings, like the Double Your Students Masterclass. I just said, hey, anyone who's in meditation teacher training, why don't you come for free? So you get some bonus learnings periodically too. So that is that on that. I just wanted to, share I don't know what to call this. This is how I feel about meditation. This is my method, my thesis, I guess, on what meditation means to me and the Mindful Minutes method. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And thank you for giving me almost an hour of your time. I really, really appreciate that. And I hope wherever you are that you're having a wonderful, beautiful day. And everything I mentioned, all the links to everything is going to be in the show notes. Okay, bye.